welcome back to Sharing the Love. I'm your host, Bana, and we have a wonderful returning guest, the special Avril. Welcome.
Sure, for sure. Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Could you please introduce yourself with 5 words?
I'm loving, thoughtful, individual. I'm spiritual, passionate too, and fun.
Yes, amazing. So, to jump into it, it's time for our Love Bowl. Ready?
Ready? 3, 2, 1. You can stop.
I love it. The topic for today is transformation.
Oh my gosh. Would you believe you picked up one of my favorite topics?
Why do you say it's
For
one of
real.
your favorite topics?
It's interesting because I was going back through my social media that I've done, things that I posted in the 10 years and so on. And it got me thinking of how my life in so many ways has just been change after change after change. And I enjoy it too. It's interesting, but something that I enjoy is just evolving to the next thing. I just know that the man that I am today, and it's not even, some people can say, oh, if I looked like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, man, I'm a different person. For me, I can literally look at a year ago, and say, okay, I'm a whole different person. Something that's huge in my life and even in my coaching as well. I'm a transformational coach. I help people transition in different phases of life too. So
Funny enough, I'm also a transformational and mindset coach. So I do believe that it's because we had undergone our own transformation that we're here to help guide others in their own. So
yeah.
if I were to ask you the first question, what does transformation mean to you?
I associate transformation with growth. I associate transformation with evolving. And taking the word to its bare basics or is like it's change.
Right.
And you gotta evolve to be able to survive to the next season.
I feel even as you were saying that, changes maybe can be on a smaller level, whereas transformation feels like a whole overhaul or revamp of a new
Yeah.
more true version of yourself, because as I always say that life is a journey of finding your way back home, and I do believe that usually transformations come off the back of big life events that come to a place and you're like, okay, now this is no longer working for me. Maybe it has served me in the past, but it needs a different direction right now. And that does require, as you were saying, a lot of transformation within, right? Not just changes on the outside, but transforming from within in order to elevate to this next level.
You're right. Transformation to also, when I hear it as well, speaks of a huge change. Like if you look at the difference between a caterpillar and a butterfly, sometimes you cannot even connect that way the same person.
Yeah, it's a different form, and when you say that, it reminds me of this therapy session that I had recently. Sometimes looking back at the younger versions of myself, I can't seem to understand. It's the part where you're saying butterfly and caterpillar. There's no connection there because it's a whole new way of seeing life. It's a whole new way of conducting yourself in life. My next question for you is, how do you believe transformation contributes to personal growth?
I can see how life situations can push one to a place of like you have to change to adapt to a new season in your life. And with that, for some people, it's not a conscious thing that we are actually seeking growth, but we are forced to grow up because we're now in a different situation. In order for you to survive or to live, you now have to think different, act different. And again, when you then look back like 5 years later, you'll be like, holy fudge, I actually grew a lot. I learned that. As you know, for people like you and I as coaches, we used to doing self-work and thrive on personal growth and personal development. It's also we're being conscious of what we want. We're listening to podcasts, we're listening to things that continually feed us and things like that, audiobooks, etc., because we want to grow. And that's also actively doing things that are transforming us.
Definitely. And to add to your point, I believe when you're in this transformation, sometimes people don't want to go through that journey, right? And what tends to happen there is that this new part of their life is not compatible with the version they're remaining to be, or choosing to be in. And I believe that's where the biggest friction happens, is when, oh, okay, these are the new Zoom features that are coming in, but maybe this is what transformation feels like on the inside out. As I was saying, you know, that's where the friction really happens, and it's taking ownership of that. A lot of the times I feel we're running away from that ownership because it is hard. And that's the other side of things that I want to make clear as transformational coaches, both you and I, is when clients come in expecting that, oh, it's going to be all rainbows and butterflies and I'm with a life coach, it's hard. It's challenging. If you're coming in thinking that this is going to be a breeze and a walk in the park, it's not. You know, this is your reality check to be like, it's time to really take ownership and be like, I need to make these changes. They are going to be hard. And so there's this element of acceptance when we are going through the transformation that I won't say makes it easier, just less friction when you are not trying to fight it so hard, right?
Yes, that's so true. To a certain extent, change is never easy, if I can put it that way. There are ways to make it, easier, simpler, and so on, but it comes with challenging mindsets and etc. I mean, it requires work. And like you say, being actively, consciously aware of, okay, these are the steps I need to do. So like, for example, I recently started going to the gym and working with the personal trainer, right? I know I want that for my body. I'm looking to get a transformation. Like when you look at Avril 6 months from now, how I would look physically is going to be different. But with that, just being in the gym early this morning, you feel the pain. Those are the pains of change, the pains of growth.
And as you said, it's not only the acceptance, but coming in with the mindset of, okay, I know that this is going to be hard. I know that this is going to be challenging, but what do I get over the long term, right? What is the reward that I'm going to be getting? And it feels like sometimes the pain is so much that we tend to forget what's going to come out on the other side of that. That's why you mentioned something just before, which triggered something in my head. Growing up, there was this notion in our culture that, oh, you've changed. Of course I've changed. What's the point if I'm not going to be changing, right?
Exactly.
And it's accepting in true friendships, and based on our episode on unconditional love, the accepting of each other with every version that comes along, right? Loving us no matter the conditions. Not that I want you in a certain way and that's how you're going to be. And maybe that's another point of friction for people when they transform, is they don't want the people in their lives to view them as, oh, they've changed. At the end of the day, at the expense of what are you doing that? At the expense of your own well-being, at the expense of your own fulfillment and your own happiness. And that's when it comes down to, you get to choose which one outweighs the other.
I remember when I was looking into my 2024 goals, the things I was writing for 2024, I looked back at some of the things that I was struggling with, right? Then I realized it hit me. There's the old version of me is struggling now because I want to stay in my comfort zone and what I'm used to. Then it just hit me like there's a new version. I need to start seeing myself as the new version of me. I feel like it's an old version of me that's resisting this. I need to start looking at the version of me that I want to be and get my strength from him.
Right. And this is an important point that you're touching on, because something I still struggle with in my personal life. There are some different younger parts of me that come up and want to act out because this is not what they're used to. And this is the part where we need to talk to them in a compassionate way and let them know there's an adult in town now. And guess what? I'm going to make you the happiest that you've ever been. And giving them that kind of comfort, letting them know it's okay. I know that this is scary. I know for 15, 20 years of your life you were used to a certain way of living life, but now we found a better way, so let's do this together. That's why inner harmony is such an important piece in helping your mindset, in reprogramming, in accepting all of the things that we're saying that makes it easier. We're not saying that it's an easy process, but things that make it easier instead of fighting it, all being on the same boat in steering the ship in the direction that we want to get to. My next question for you is, what emotions does transformation evoke for you?
It's interesting talking about our inner child and our inner kids. They because they show up too in the emotions.
Right.
I would say there's versions of me when I hear transformation that just feels like hard, tough. I don't even want to do it. So it's a feeling of like, oh, it's going to be a struggle, pain, hurt. And there's a version of me that feels like excited. I want to take it on, challenge. Okay, what did I get wrong here? How can I improve it? Like, it's excited for the challenge. If I was to say excitement is an emotion for me, that may be pushing it too much on the positive side, but I'm somewhere in between. I don't know what kind of feeling I can attribute it to, but it's more like bring it on.
Yeah.
I welcome it. And depending on what it is, like I say, sometimes I wake up feeling like, oh man, I have to do this, but I don't feel like doing it. And so I was like, okay, we're making progress. Let's do it. I get more excited, more pumped.
Yeah. And when you're on the back of that, when you actually finish what you're meant to be doing, the feeling is indescribable, and there's nothing like it, because it's especially because you didn't want to do it and you did it. You're like, man, I'm on top of the world, And so it's funny as you're saying that, and I love that you say this, because I always mention this to my clients. We exist in contradictions, we exist in multitudes, we are so large, and it's okay to have both those sides. There is a higher self and there is an ego, there is fear and there is love, and it's accepting all of them that come along. It's not that it has to be one. It's finding that balance in between, that of course I'm scared, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Of course that it's going to be hard and it's going to be challenging, but guess what, it's going to be so worth it when I come out of it and be like, oh my god, I did it. It increases your confidence, it enhances your self-image. There's so many ripple effects to that. I feel we tend to forget that because we get stuck at it's hard and it's challenging, so you know what, let me avoid it, let me run away. But think just a bit deeper and see how many areas of your life that it's going to ripple into. And I bet you it's every single area of your life. And that's why it's transformation on this bigger scale. My next question for you is, if transformation was a weather condition, which weather would it be and why?
I feel like it's rain on so many levels of, like, number one, sometimes when we get rain, we don't actually like rain or want the rain. But what it brings cleaning, it means washing away, it brings life to plants.
And what comes out after the rain? It's the springing of everything and the blooming of everything. It's allowing ourselves to be watered and cleansed and washed away from everything in the past and the conditioning and the limiting beliefs and everything that we were taught. What advice would you give someone embarking on their own transformation right now?
I'd say, hey, I know a lot of people say keep on focusing on the goal. Remember your whys. However, I'd also say, if you're consciously doing it, be compassionate with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You've set an intention, you've set a goal, you're working towards that change. And at the same time, there's certain things you're in control with and certain things you're not. So be compassionate with yourself. Don't get too attached to certain things and allow the process to happen. There's an organic and natural change that happens when we set our mind to it and when we're walking in tune with the flow of life. Going back to the metaphor of the butterfly, is that when it's now in that cocoon stage between the caterpillar and the butterfly, everything that's happening there is a natural state of things. So you cannot say, I want to force things to happen quicker, or I want to force this. Let it come in its own time.
I can kind of summarize that. It's less force, more flow. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Go with the flow of it. And a huge part of that is, don't have any expectations of what your transformation journey is going to look like. At the end of the day, it's taking it day by day, as you were saying. You reminded me, I always had a fear of needles. One nurse helped me through this. When I go in scared and with the idea of, oh my god, it's going to hurt, and they always end up having to poke me a few times to find the vein. But when I let go and relax and not think of it, they do it from the first time. I've done an experiment on this. It's the same thing as you were saying. Again, coming back to full circle with what we were saying at the start, accepting that the process is going to be challenging and hard, and whatever that looks like, it's unique to everyone's journeys. No one has got you except yourself. No one understands the extent of this transformation except yourself. That's why you need to be compassionate with yourself, because no one else understands. What do you feel your biggest takeaway from our session today was?
I feel like the universe always does this for me. But the fact that we pulled out transformation today is beautiful, because I have a few things that I'm looking in the near future, like literally in the next month or so. I'm thinking of relocating, moving states. And I've been having certain hesitations and certain fears, worries, concerns, things come up. So pulling this up and reflecting on all of that, it's getting me to a place of, yeah, I can see a version of me 8 months from now looking back. I would have gone through the change and all the process.
Right. Exactly. And you know, sometimes, yes, we have the knowing, and we were just talking about this before we started shooting, is we tend to maybe intellectualize things and we know them, but when it takes that one moment for it to hit and be like, oh, you know what? I can feel it now. It's something within me. It's that knowing that everything's going to be all right. Looking back, you have the proof and the evidence of everything you've went through in your life that got you to where you are today, that you've made it 100%. And it's trusting your intuition and your gut, even though it is scary, of course, relocating. And remembering, you just said it's the comfort thing. That's why we tend to resist it and tend to have that friction. So stepping out of that and being like, I got this and you got this. You know,
I got this.
Before we wrap up, where can our audience find you?
Instagram is King Lion at Coach.
Everyone needs to jump on this bandwagon and follow this wonderful master in really doing life. You have a lot to learn from him, so please go ahead and connect. Thank you so much for joining. It's always an incredible honor, honestly.
I just want to say thank you, my dear sister. I'm also honored. It's always filling my cup whenever we connect.
Honestly, mine
always fills my cup. Yeah.
This is sharing the love. Share your love. Spread the word. Drop a like, a comment. Let us know what resonated with you, and we'll see you again in our next episode.